2022 is the year of many spectacular cryptocurrency collapses. March 12, Terra Luna, Terra USD crash, estimated $60 billion wiped out. May 16, Bitcoin and other major digital assets crashed. June the 29th, Three Arrows Capital, 3AC closed down, all assets liquidate. July 5th, Voyager Digital files for bankruptcy after 3AC defaulted on a US $665 million loan. July 13th, Celsius Network files for bankruptcy protection in the US. July 22nd, ZipMax files for bankruptcy in Singapore. August 8th, Hoodnot suspends all withdrawal swaps and deposits. August 11, VOD $46.4 million from VOD's local entity frozen by India's anti-money laundering agency. November 11, FTX files for bankruptcy a week after failing to merge with Binance. November 28, BlockFi, last value at $4.8 billion files for bankruptcy protection after FTX collapse. Have you been bitten? Find out why. Due diligence. How did those spectacular cryptocurrency failures happen? Did they do their due diligence?
Hi, welcome to Tech Connection. I'm Michael Chua and I'm here to answer your tech questions.
Cryptocurrency market is highly volatile and prone to significant price fluctuations, but there are also fraud and scams. Fraud. Former Alameda Research CEO Caroline Ellison gave her first public account of her actions in a December 19 plea hearing in a Manhattan federal court. She said, "From 2019 through 2022, I was aware that Alameda was provided access to a borrowing facility on FTX.com, a cryptocurrency exchange run by Mr. Bankman-Fried. In practical terms, this arrangement permitted Alameda Research to an unlimited line of credit without being required to post collateral, without having negative balances, and without being subject to margin calls on FTX.com's liquidation protocols. Mr. Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX, is charged with orchestrating years of fraud in which he used billions of dollars of FTX customer funds for personal expenses and high-risk bets through Alameda. He repeatedly said he was unaware of what went on at Alameda, a defense undermined by the statements from FTX co-founder Wang and former Alameda Research CEO Ellison. But wasn't there due diligence? Due diligence is a process of carefully and thoroughly evaluating an investment opportunity before deciding to commit capital to it. Particularly so in cryptocurrency investments because the market is relatively new, highly volatile, and subject to significant regulatory uncertainty. Due diligence. Number 1. Research the team. Look into the background and experience of the team behind the project, including their track record in the cryptocurrency industry and any relevant expertise they may have. Number 2. Review the project's white paper. This document should outline the project's goals, the technology behind, and how it plans to generate revenue. Look for clear, concise explanations and be wary of overly complex or vague language. Number 3. Check the project's code. If the project is open source, you can review the code base to get a sense of the project's technical viability. Number 4. Evaluate the project's market potential. Consider whether the project addresses a real market need and whether it has a viable business model. Look for partnerships and partnerships with established companies as well. Number 5. Understand the project's regulatory environment. Cryptocurrencies are subject to a variety of regulations, so it's important to understand how the project may be affected by these regulations and whether it is compliant. Number 6. Assess the project's risk profile. Cryptocurrencies can be very volatile, so it's important to carefully consider the level of risk you're comfortable taking on. Diluted due diligence. It is hard to know what due diligence actually means as the levels of rigor vary depending on the specific investment, the investor's goals and risk tolerance, and other factors. The Ontario Teachers Pension Plan invested $95 million and Tiger Global invested $38 million, both of these into FTX, which they claim have conducted due diligence. Yet both miss what FTX's new chief has described as a complete failure of corporate controls. It is therefore probable that the hands-on work for due diligence had fallen upon the youngest lawyers, consultants and bankers. The young ones would have no meaningful downturn experience, so would be less experienced at judging the adequacy of controls and clauses that will matter only when the money starts to run out. Standards are eroded as venture capitalists stopped trying to select and nurture the smartest entrepreneurs and instead started spreading cash around. VCs have always assumed that most fledgling companies will fail, but that they will be compensated by getting in early on a few big successes. Easy money. Decades of easy money and a lack of decent yields from safer alternatives means that this approach has spread from early investment rounds involving a few $1 million to gigantic deals involving billions. FOMO, fear of missing out. Small apparently successful companies stay private for longer. Investors' fear of missing out on the next Amazon or a Google grew. That left them vulnerable. Investors started following the herd instead of following which business plan made sense. Big players such as SoftBank, Tiger Global, and Sequoia boasted of the speed at which they could deploy capital, and that put pressure on rivals to call off their lawyers and accountants. Low interest rates. The longer interest rates stayed low, the worse the problem became as institutional investors allocated more and more money to private investment funds. The result? Many agreed to invest with little or no protection for their money. For instance, Bankman-Fried refused to put investor representatives on the FTX board and used two little-known auditing firms instead. Back to basics, investors who want to restore standards should start with the financials. The FTX fiasco provides a reason to insist on proper audits that delve into the way companies are spending their money and fully disclose related party transactions. It wasn't decentralized finance or the technology that actually broke. It was human greed and taking actions out of the fear of missing out. In the aftermath, due diligence is back to scrutinizing fundamentals, value, income, or quality. But how long will that last? After all, we have heard of the spectacular negligence of Enron in the year 2001. Stop press. Barely 6 months after the bankruptcy of British Virgin Island-registered Three Arrows Capital, its founders Mr. Zhu Su and Mr. Carl Davis are back. Together with crypto exchange CoinFlex co-founders Mark Lam and Sudhu Arumugam, they are aiming to raise $25 million in seed funding to launch GTX, a platform for crypto bankruptcy claims. They aim to verify and tokenize their clients' claims and allow them to use their claims as collateral. Thereafter, the idea is to allow clients from the bankrupt exchange FTX and other insolvent estates to access their capital and start investing again. Let us see how the due diligence works this time round. Coming up, how can your organization roll out an effective and comprehensive information security awareness and training campaign? Keep your questions coming in, like and share, subscribe to follow Tech Connection, connecting your thoughts.